Lines, Marco joined by Christian Edwards. Sir, thank you for the time. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm great. We're here to talk to you about MMA, your career. We've got Bellator 239 coming up. So first off, MMA. How'd you find MMA?
Man, it was something that I'd always had an interest in, since I was young. Probably about 13 is when I really took an interest to it, but it just kind of came naturally, like I started off just like, training out of my backyard, with my brother, doing what we saw on TV, and then, when I was 15, I got into an actual gym, started jiu-jitsu, and then kind of just stuck with it, you know what I mean? It was just meant to happen, I feel like.
Do you remember the first fight you saw?
Yeah. It was, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, it just kind of, I don't know, it just happened. It was just natural, you know what I mean? Like, everything about it just felt natural, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it was just natural.
Well, when was the first time that you saw the sport on TV?
I think it was Matt Hughes versus George St. Pierre, the rematch. I think that was the first UFC event that I saw.
And what were your thoughts when you saw it?
I was astonished. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, this is crazy, you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe people actually get paid to do this. This is awesome.
And from that, it was training on your own that you guys went to. How long did it take before you, I want to try to do this, and you guys started training on your own?
It was pretty much almost immediately. Like, we asked our mom for some MMA gloves for Christmas, and we just like, after that we just stuck with it, you know what I mean? Like, me and my brother, we would just, we'd go out in the backyard and like, spar, and we had no idea what we were doing, but, just made it work somehow, and then, 15 decided to get into an actual gym, and then, just kind of kicked off from there.
You mentioned GSP Matt Hughes, that first fight. Who were some of the first fighters that you were really admiring?
Anderson Silva for sure was my hero growing up, just because he was, long, lanky black dude, just an amazing striker, and I love to strike, you know what I mean? So it's like, I was just immediately taken away by Anderson Silva, and a couple others, of course, John Jones when he came up, and George St. Pierre. I always loved George St. Pierre. Jose Aldo was a good one, and just those people specifically. But I mean, everybody I was really astonished by, especially like in the old school days, like back in like UFC 100 to about like UFC 150 was my era, like when I was growing up.
When did it go from training on your own to finding a gym?
Well, I was troubled in school for sure, no doubt. So I was definitely getting into some fights for sure. So my mom thought that it'd be a good idea because she saw me training at home all the time, you know what I mean? And she was just like, you need to get to an actual gym where it's like structured and you can really do this recreationally and not in school, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't fighting out of anger, you know what I mean? Like, we would like fight, but just like for the hell of it, you know what I mean? It was like a underground after school kind of thing, and I know it's like kind of corny, but we really did fight. Like, it was just what we did. It was for fun, and kept getting in trouble because we kept getting caught, of course, because eventually people are gonna find out. And just kind of, my mom was like, hey, you can't do that. So got me into a gym, and then, rest is history.
You got to applaud Christian Edwards. He tried really hard right there to not break the first rule and not say the word Fight Club. It seemed like that's what you were going for.
I totally was, 100%, 1,000% actually, yeah. I was avoiding that.
But, so it was just a passion. It was something you wanted to do at that time. It wasn't getting in fights, like being in trouble, having animosity. It was more testing yourself even at that point. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, because I mean, like in school, everybody thinks they can fight for some reason. You know what I mean? Kids are just fucking silly and think they can do stuff like that. And I was just like, I like to fight. You like to fight, so let's set up a time and a place, and that's what we did. We would just meet up at different places after school and fucking fight. And it was fun, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what we did.
And then what was it like getting into the structure surrounding and then entering that gym facility, having coaches and everything that entailed?
It was definitely different, but I took a liking to it pretty quickly. Like I liked like actually getting instruction from someone and like really learning. You know what I mean? Not just doing what I saw on TV. You know what I mean? Like actually really learning something from someone who's knowledgeable. You know. And my first coach was this guy named Zach George, who was a pro MMA fighter for a couple of years and trained at Team Quest. You know what I mean? So he was pretty, he's pretty legit. You know what I mean? So it was a good place to start. You know what I mean? For sure.
And as the foundation, how would you categorize it?
The foundation was so he taught me pretty much like all the basics of jiu-jitsu and all the basics of MMA in general, because he was an MMA coach, you know what I mean? But he was definitely more focused on my jiu-jitsu than anything, because that's where, when I went to his gym at first, like I didn't know anything about ground game. Like I was just a stand-up guy. I like to fucking trade and, like I was just a brawler, and he was like, okay, let's work on your ground game first and then we'll get into the other stuff. And that's where he built my my jiu-jitsu, and that's why my jiu-jitsu is, definitely where it is right now, you know what I mean? Because I got all my basics from that, you know what I mean, for sure.
And then amateurs, we all know you from Bellator, but amateurs, I believe you did have a trio of fights?
Yeah, 3 fights, and they're fun, man. I really, honestly, would not take back my amateur fights for anything, because they were fun, you know what I mean? Like I remember going into those fights thinking like, this is what I've been saying I was going to do since I was 13, so now it's time to really deliver, and it's fun, man, looking back on it.
Well, how valuable for people that have not known, but is that cage time and that experience of getting some in those amateur minutes? I'm telling you, it's very valuable, like I didn't have too many amateur fights just because, when I was amateur, like when I moved out here, we couldn't find any more amateur fights. Like initially we were going to do 2 more amateur fights and then go pro, but couldn't find any more amateur fights. But if I could have did 2 more amateur fights, I honestly would have, just because, that experience is priceless, like going into your pro fight, the more experience you have, the better. Like Patchy Mix was I think went like 12-0 as an amateur before he went pro, or 11-0 or something like that, you know what I mean? So yeah, experience is priceless. Do you feel it's almost a drawback of being a bigger guy, heavyweights, light heavyweights? It's a lot harder to find competition and keep you guys active.
Oh yeah, for sure, without a doubt, man. And like for me, it was when I moved out here, everybody heard heard about my transition, you know what I mean, from back home, because I was already, drawing a lot of attention when I was still in Oklahoma, just because, like I was 19, knocking out grown men, you know what I mean, in my amateur fights, but like when I moved out here, it just kind of spread around like the local circuit, and like, fucking nobody wanted to fight me after they figured out I moved to Jacksonwink, because it's Jacksonwink, nobody's from that local circuit is gonna fight anybody from Jacksonwink, because they just think, oh, like everybody from here is just invincible, So it is what it is. I mean, I definitely wanted to do 2 more amateur fights to be like, say I'm 5-0 as an Emmy, and then, then I go pro, but it is what it is.
How did you get connected with the gym? What led to the move here to Jacksonwink?
My manager actually moved me out here. Like after I signed with my manager, Rick Guerrero of Leon Sports Management, he had been talking to me about moving out here for like I'd probably say a couple weeks. He had been talking to me about it, like, just like briefly throwing it out there, like, hey, you should do a camp out there one of these times, or maybe go out there for like 2 or 3 months. And then, one day he finally just came up and like he called me and asked me, it was like, hey, if I could get you out there, ideally, how long would you want to stay out there? And I was like, forever, you know what I mean? Like jokingly, because I didn't, of course I didn't think that was, possible. And then he was like, well, yeah, okay, I can do that. And then I thought he was joking, you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. Like I thought he was messing with me, I really did. And then the rest is history. He was like, yeah, like I've been talking to Coach Wink about a scholarship program anyway, like, and told him about you, and I think you're the perfect guy for it. You know what I mean? I want to see where this goes. I think it would be a really good thing for you. And I was like, yeah, it'd be a good thing for me, of course. So yeah, rest is history.
And how has this team up? How has it come together for you being part of the team? Everything out here?
Man, it's just everything's falling into place so beautifully. You know what I mean? Like I really do appreciate all of my teammates here and all of my friends here. You know, I've built some very strong bonds and relationships out here, and now this is my home now. Like I can't ever see myself going anywhere else.
And then from out here to that move out here, having the success as an amateur, and then you get signed to Bellator.
Yeah, that is still mind blowing to me when I think about it, honestly, because obviously I grew up watching Bellator. Since I even knew what MMA was, I was watching UFC and Bellator, so that to me is still mind blowing.
How did you react to that? How were you able to react to getting a contract like that right away?
Honestly, I knew that my manager, if he was giving me that offer, that means that he saw something in me, something like potential that, comes along very rarely, and I was super, it made me feel good about myself, and I was just like, okay, well, if he thinks I'm ready, then I'm ready, and my coaches think I'm ready, then I'm ready, and I trust my manager, I trust my coaches, and, obviously they weren't wrong, because, I was ready, I passed my debut with flying colors, I feel like, so.
2-0, 2 spectacular finishes. Are you impressed with what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, tug my own tail, but yeah, I think so. I'm pretty impressed with the way that my last 2 fights turned out, for sure. Just because, those finishes were super quick and they were very, fascinating. I feel like, a left hook knockout and then a head kick knockout. It's pretty crazy. I feel like as a debut, you get that 54-second knockout, and then right after that, you follow up with a 16-second knockout. Definitely opening up the right eyes. I feel like Coach Gibson was just telling me the other day that he had he was out at I think LA cornering Aaron Pico, and he said all the Bellator guys were asking about me, saying how's Christian doing, is he getting ready for his fight, what's he up to, and that made me feel good about myself when he told me that, because it's now I know that I have the right eyes on me, Rich Chow, the matchmaker, and Scott Coker, it's pretty humbling.
Not many guys get the notoriety that you got right away. Aaron Pico knows that feeling. You guys get signed to Bellator right out the gates, becoming professionals. You have other teammates here that's having that happen too. But what does it feel like being in that moment and living up to it right now? You became known to everybody, and you had all of this hype, and you've lived up to it.
Man, it's really just surreal for me, man. There's no better feeling in the world than really getting recognition for what I do. 'Cause, I've always felt ever since, pretty much ever since I started taking this seriously, which was about 15 when I got into a gym, you know what I mean? I just always had a feeling that I was destined to do great things in this sport, you know what I mean? I really did, I remember being a kid thinking, I'm gonna fight in the UFC someday, you know what I mean? And obviously, it's not the UFC right now, it's Bellator, you know what I mean? And who knows, my future may forever be with Bellator, who knows, I just have to see where the future takes me, but I just know that I was meant to do this, and I am destined for big things, I feel like.
Seeing the hard work and seeing the Bellator contract and how these fights have played out, how ensuring and inspiring has it been for what you're doing every day here?
Man, it's so inspiring, man. It pushes me to train harder every day. You know what I mean? I'm constantly on the mats when I'm in camp. And when I'm not in camp, I'm still on the mats. It's not as much as I am when I'm in camp. And I love what I do. You know what I mean? I love my life, and I make the fullest of it. If I can't train, then it doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? I really I feel out of place. And I get all lazy and I just sit around on my couch watching Netflix all day. It's horrible. You know what I mean? I just can't. To go too long without training. That's definitely for sure.
It's going to be the opponent as far as I have Bellator 239. What do you do for a follow-up performance? How do you show yourself more improvement?
Man, honestly, I think what I can do, the only thing I can do in this fight is just show, like, you know, just trust in my coaches and trust in my training, and you know, just go out there and have fun. You know what I mean? Just show the world while I'm still in the game that, you know, like, I'm the next big thing. Like, I'm here to stay. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make some moves.
Talking about that, is there a plan yet? Do you have a plan for the future? How you make your way to the top? How you grind it out yet? Being in Bellator, being in one of their shallow divisions. I know you want to get experience probably before jumping up to the higher ranking guys, but do you have a plan for getting there? How long do you expect it to take?
Not really, man. Just gotta see how it turns out. You know what I mean? Like, if I, you know, can string together a bunch of impressive finishes by the end of 2020, then I think maybe I'll probably, since it is such a shallow division, like you said, like, I'll probably be in the top 10 by the end of 2020, or maybe like mid 2021, maybe at the latest, you know. But I definitely will be in the top 10.
A lot about the fighter that is Christian Edwards. What else do people need to know about you? Because there's more than just the fighter.
Honestly, other than my fight career, not a very interesting guy, man. All I do is play video games and watch Netflix.
Got any recommendations for us then?
I would definitely recommend WWE 2K18 because, you know, I'm the best at that game and I'll finish anybody on that game any day. So anybody play me online, I'll finish it without a doubt.
Christian Edwards, can't wait to see you back in action, sir. Thank you for the time.
Of course, thank you.